Okie dokie. All right. So the plan that we have right here in front of us is we are going to take the basic cam toy animation that you should already have and add an advanced, there we go, camera position, movement, situation. Okay, so what we already have, or you should already have, is some sort of real basic crank toy situation, recording of it and whatnot. And in case you guys haven't figured out yet or figured out the hard way, this is called the playhead in any sort of design environment thing. In most softwares, you can grab it and slide it around, also known as scrubbing, freely without anything breaking. That is likely to cause an issue if you do it in this program like that. Okay, you are always going to be safe if you just do play, stop. You frequently will be fine if you do jump to start, but grabbing and dragging it will break it. Okay, but that's a whole nother issue. The thing you are going to create is some variation on this, where the entire thing, the camera location, is going to move as the animation occurs. You're going to do 3 camera movements plus a turntable animation. It's not super critical that it is a fantastically, beautifully inspiring set of camera movements. This is a technical challenge, and that's what we're going to do. So in order to, I think, better understand what's happening, is you are creating an element in the animation that is the camera. And from this view, we should be able to see like the actual camera moving to whichever locations you want to have a field of view. And the turntable does count as a move, but it's a different situation, different thing. And when you're creating it, so you should already have in your timeline the single animation that is the crank turning. It'll show up here in a second. Come on, here we go. Yeah. So just like before, we have our animation timeline, and we have the only the single animation thing happening. But as you're building camera animations, they're going to show up in the timeline as well. And they work the same way, where if you move something forward, it's going to happen sooner. If you shrink down its duration, it's going to happen faster. And sequence and all that kind of stuff. So they work like that, but they show up in the timeline. And we are going to start from scratch. There's a lot of tricky stuff that is not intuitive, or I'm going to save you some struggling and figuring out how stuff works by showing you the details. Okay, so there's 2 basic ideas, and that is, one is creating a new camera, and then the other is animating that camera. Okay, so when you get to your toy, and first let's there's always issues with people not understanding what cam is. So yes, in the common vernacular, cam is short for camera. That is not what we're talking about. This device right here is a cam. It is an off-centered mechanical component that turns rotational movement into reciprocal movement, back and forth. Okay, that is a cam. It is not short for camera. That's all it is. It's not, cam is not short for anything, I don't think. It is just a cam. We are going to be adding a video element called a camera. Okay, I can see there could be a confusion, especially if this is your first interaction with anything like an actual cam. So first we need to create a camera. Okay. And we can choose its target, which you're going to be able to edit anything. So you really just need to put it somewhere in the environment by clicking on something flat. Okay. Just like anything in Inventor, when a context window pops up and one of the cursors is selected, that's what you have to deal with first. In this case, where do we want the camera to be pointed at? Here is fine. And then you go out a little bit and click again to set the position. And sometimes double click or one good click. That's fine. We can change it at this point. We can do link to view, which is an easy way to just use the view cube. And this is going to be where your camera starts, where your animation starts. I think it's probably a good, I don't know, to call it storytelling is a bit of a exaggeration, but to show sort of like what the inner workings are, like a zoom in and then to a wide view, or vice versa is fine also. But either way, we are creating a our first, when we create the camera, it's going to be where our camera starts from. There are other things besides target and position. There's zoom and roll angle, which you know, obviously can be anything. Might as well start out flat. And I like this. The actual frame of the camera is going to be a little bit different when you do the recording based on the resolution you choose, but this is fine. But okay. Okay, so now you can see there is a camera in our environment. When we, in the replay, there's no camera animations yet, but we have the option now to look at things from current view or camera one during the playback. And so camera one is just going to be here, and we can still, you know, work our revolution. And it broke it again. Let's see if I can unre-break it. This is not good. Let's just Control Z a few times. Oh no, you can't Control Z that. All right, well, I kind of meant to break it, but then I thought I'd be able to unbreak it. Give me a second. All right, we'll just leave it broken for now. And then once we have the camera animations, actually, I can't handle this. There we go. All right, so we'll go back out. That's generally a good idea. All right, so we have our camera in our environment. We're going to look at it through the current view to watch the camera movement. So we have, now we have in drop down, we have camera one, which is a fine name for it. And we can right click and go to animate camera. Actually, we'll get it from here. So right here is, this is the create a new camera button. It's a picture of a camera with the word camera. And then there's here, this is animate the camera button, which is the word camera and a picture of a camera, but this time with a little film behind it, okay, or a timeline. So this is the animate a camera button. We only have one camera, so it's that. We need to define where we want the movement to be, and we define it by choosing our next target. The easier way is link to view, which we're going to do link to view, and now choose where we want the camera to end. I want the camera to end like right here, so you can see the crank and the previous thing happening, and hopefully nothing weird happens. Hit OK. And that I'm going to specify the duration. Let's just have it do 1 second. I'll be able to mess around with it in the timeline when I'm done. Hit OK. And now when I go to the timeline, you can see that camera one has a animation bar in it. And just like any of the other movements, the camera movement isn't going to start until the timeline gets to here. And that entire movement will take this length of time to happen. Shorter means faster, longer, slower. And just from a, you know, video direction standpoint, probably don't want the movement to happen right away, but it's completely adjustable. And we can now test it. We go back to the beginning and we watch, we hit play. We're currently watching it through current view, which means we're not seeing the we're going to see the camera, not which is probably a better test to actually watch it from camera 1. Now we play it. Okay, it's not too bad. I think it's probably better to have a little bit longer time period starting, but this is just a artistic choice, I suppose. Maybe like that, and let's see. So we start with the movement, maybe a little longer. And all right, so once we were happy with that, and like I said, you can adjust it a little bit later. You can adjust it all later, actually. All right, so we want to do another movement. We need to put the playhead past where we finish, because this is where we want the next one. And we can actually do right click, copy animation is fine. The thing that's going to happen, if I actually do it right, oh wait, paste, it's going to do, the movement is however many degrees clockwise and how many degrees up. So to copy the movement, it's just going to do the same amount of movement again, which technically is fine, but I want it to be something else. So I'm going to do right click, edit. And this is really the same as doing another camera animation. And I want to define where it's going to go. Let's do link to view just to save us some effort. And I want my next camera angle to be something like this. Again, we'll fix the, and then okay. And we'll fix the, oh, there we go, fixed it again. So now we've got one camera animation, two camera animations, and we'll be able to see more. I want a third camera animation, which you could always just do right click, copy and paste, or just new camera animate. Define the location that you want to go to, link to view. How about we don't have anything from this angle yet? Hit okay. Again, and we'll have a third movement here. I'm going to rearrange my windows to have a few more pixels. I want everything to start a little bit later. I want the movements to be a little faster with more time in between the movements, so it's a little sharper. But again, that's a stylistic choice. Okay, so right now, watching it through camera 1, it gets going. There's one camera movement, two camera movements, and you tighten that one up, 3 camera movements. Okay, and then the last thing is a turntable animation, which if you go to animate camera, you can switch it to turntable. We turn on turntable, and you're going to choose the axis of rotation, which I think if we want it to spin like it's on a record player, that's going to be the Y origin. You can see the way that it's going to spin. Okay, so there's Y origin is like that. Z origin is spinning on that axis. And X origin is spinning on that axis. We'll stick with Y. I want you to do Y because it might make me nauseous any other way. And then direction, that's your choice, clockwise, counterclockwise. And revolutions, minutes is minutes of a degree, or per degree. Don't worry about it. Just switch it to plus minus. That is full movements, full rotations. Anything more than 2 will just start to look like it's gonna take off and fly away like a helicopter. And let's specify we're already at 9 seconds. Our animation only goes to 20 seconds. How about like over 9.4 to like 12 seconds. Again, we'll get another bar here to play with. And let's spread it out a little bit. So the rotation, and let's just go back to the previous camera movement. All right, so from here, you get the last camera movement. Actually, let me get this out of the way. It'd be nice to have a nice big 4K display, a few more pixels to work with, but this is what we got. Okay, so this was the last camera movement. This is the turntable. And it feels a little fast for 1.5. I guess I could do only one movement or one rotation. You need to do at least one full spin. And I'm not quite sure how to put, you see how it's like a weird out of center rotation, like it goes away and then comes back. I'm not sure why that is. But either way, that is it. And then, so from the beginning, let's hopefully jump back to the beginning without it breaking. Good. So this is what it looks like as of now. We have one camera movement from close in to here. Another one to here. Oh, it is super broken at this point. And when you do the, oh shoot, that's not good. All right, so let's go out, and I would always recommend doing this before you do any recording. Finish Inventor Studio and go fix it. Now the problem is we can't do our rotation at all because we have that angle constraint that we needed to do any sort of animation. What you can do, instead of deleting it and doing your Inventor Studio animation again, you can suppress it. And then it's like it doesn't exist, but then you can turn it back on. So I just yanked it around so that it's correct. We can then right click, unsuppress it, which in order to find it, you can find, collapse all children. You can find whichever part you used for the constraint, or you can just go to relationships, which has every constraint in the assembly. And it will probably be the last thing you did. Otherwise, I don't know how you could have made it. But then you right click and unsuppress, and it turns it back on. Now, when you go back to Inventor Studio, that animation or that constraint that is animated will still have all its stuff, well, which is just the one long animation, which I do recommend going to 3600 or 360 times 10. Just it makes it easier. Well, I suppose any sort of 360 times an integer will mean that at the end it ends where it starts. But either way, that's fine. Okay, so here, this is when we would start the recording. We'll go output. We have a good location. You have to turn on preview no render. FPS, it doesn't really make a difference because of the limitations of the computer, but 30 is, fine. And that's a good, we definitely want camera 1. If yours doesn't work, that's probably why, because if you do it to current view, it's just like rewatching in current view. You don't need to mess around with the lighting style until you get one that works. If you want to come back and mess around with it, that's fine. Render, I already have something called that, doesn't matter, hit replace. The best quality you can get is 1500 kilobits, and the current resolution is fine. Hit OK. And well, I suppose you can speed ahead the video. This isn't, it's actually going to be a little bit, wow, is it really this tight? Oh, well, might be a little super zoomed in for what I intended. There we go, we're 20% of the way through. It's not too bad. Out of, if I'd done 15 frames per second, it would have only been 270 total frames. We're just hoping that it doesn't, the lifter doesn't pop through the constraint. So we'll sit this out. I suppose you can go ahead and load up Inventor since you all have something to do. I'm not going to do it on the video, but if the final framing ends up being this tight, I would consider going back and editing the views that the camera animation goes to. The problem is the way that you'd have to edit them, you have to edit them in chronological order because the way it doesn't really remember the location that you wanted for the camera as much as it is the change from the previous location. So if you change the first one, the second one's location will probably be somewhere different. So if you changed them going from the last one first, when you got to the first one, they would not be where you put them, I think, unless something has changed with Inventor. Almost done here, 80%. And let's see what happened. Yeah, it's a little tight. Yeah, this isn't what I was looking for entirely, but it technically meets the requirements. All right, well, let's go through and actually let's edit it and see what if we can get some hints as to why that happened. All right, so if we look at our first camera, which is, well, it's our camera, but it's our first animation. Let's see, we can go through and edit and see. Yeah. All right. So there you go. There's the issue. You can see the frame of this first camera, what it's framed on. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go to the actual beginning. Either way, the zoom on the camera was high enough that it wasn't, well, it's popping through even. If you're wondering why it pops through, it's because the computer is guessing based on huge jumps, guessing where the connection should be, and it guesses wrong when you go too fast, which is why scrubbing doesn't work. It does tend to be consistent when you're doing recording because it's recording 1/30th of a frame each step, but in the preview, it just goes too fast. Either way, let's edit this first camera. Yeah. All right. So there you go. There's the issue. What is actually being framed was this, which is why my recording started out with essentially nothing in it. So probably a good idea to double check this. I think I messed around with the zoom before I did anything. Okay, so there, let's do that. And so at least everything is in that black rectangle. Hit okay, good. And then let's edit this one. And I guess edit definition. Yep, there you go. So edit definition is when you're going to see what's in there. And then, so let's play some more. Yeah, so the issue was just the, oh, you got to hit OK one more time when you edit a definition. The issue was just the level of zoom. So change definition, zoom out a little bit, hit OK, hit OK again, even though it's behind the timeline. And we'll do that for the rest of them. And we'll see if it comes out a little better. Yeah. So there's that, hit K again. And the last one, I don't think I needed to. Okay, yeah, so turntable, even though it moves the camera, it doesn't really need a new location. Okay, pop back, good. All right, let's do another quick recording. No, it didn't pop back actually. Let's finish Inventor. There we go. Finish Studio. It worked. Let's go back to Inventor Studio. Let's look at the timeline, or yeah, let's bring up timeline and let's do another recording output. Let's see if 15, just to get it to show up in a second. Yes, I want to replace it. 1500. And there we go. Yeah, a little bit better framing for what we're doing. And I don't think 30 frames per second it makes a huge difference over 15. This isn't like a video game where it feels super laggy. Plus, it's only 270 frames to register instead of 540, at least for the length of my video. And if this works, this is it. Not crazy about the clipping there. When this lifter gets to the top, you can see how it digs into the frame. I would probably fix that if I was doing this for more aesthetic benefit and not just technical or artistic. I'd like to be able to figure out why that turntable animation looks like the frame is on the outside of a record and not spinning around the center. But again, not critical at this point. Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, there you go. I also would probably center it. I don't know why it was off center. It's difficult to tell. Yeah, all right, not bad. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. Y'all have something to do, so go do it.